Hello everyone, you're listening to The Right Side of Gaming. Today we're talking about violence in D&D, specifically whether players are evil for having their characters commit acts of violence in the game. This topic has been going around for a bit lately, with people arguing not only the issue itself, but whether there's even people advocating for the non-violent side of things. I guess some people hadn't seen it out in the wild yet, so to speak. Now there was a post a little while back that parodied the topic, written as a release from Wizards of the Coast saying that violence was offensive and being removed from the game, but there's been discussion outside of that. We actually had a post recently that addressed it directly, and I'm going to use it as the example. I have edited out the name and profile picture because, and I want to make this very clear, I don't want anyone to harass this person. Even if you disagree with him, like I do, he still has the right to share his opinion. It's a big thing on the right. We think the freedom of speech applies to everyone, even the people we don't like or we disagree with. And I don't want anyone tracking him down and harassing him. I'm just using his post because it's one that generated a lot of discussion. It says, D&D gives you the ability to do violence, and no justification for that violence. So the entire game is about characters seeking out violence to justify their own violence, or simply accepting their status as murderers. Now, first off, I don't think you need a lot of reason to play the game as is. Most people just want to have fun playing a game. And a lot of them, not just D&D or tabletop games in general, are about killing bad guys. D&D is also a social game, so for a lot of them, it's about having fun with friends while you do it. That's the main part of it. Now, one great thing about role-playing games is that you always have the option to at least try and resolve a situation without combat. Some people find combat fun, some don't. People are more than welcome to get creative and play the game how they see fit. Now, our society, for better or worse, allows for justifiable violence. For example, defense of property, defense of self, or defense of others. In those latter two examples, when you or the person you're defending are faced with serious bodily injury or death, that justification can and does include the use of deadly force. In D&D, oftentimes there are evil monsters or evil beings that are a danger to the party or to other people, and they have to be stopped. Those monsters will kill, pillage, or do unspeakable things that I can't even talk about on YouTube. Most games are going to lean into this. The players are going to be moral characters that seek to do good things, or possibly morally neutral characters who have been hired to do good things for a profit. In both cases, they are actively trying to do good with justifiable violence. On the flip side of that, I think it's also worth noting that most games have consequences. If a player does an evil act, there's going to be negative consequences. If a player goes up and kills an orphan in cold blood in front of the town guard, in most games, there's a good chance that character is going to be arrested or worse. Even if they evade arrest, that evil act is going to follow them throughout the game. That means in D&D, we have what is arguably justifiable violence, which happens and is part of the entertainment value, just like with so many other RPGs, video games, miniatures games, etc. And what I think most people would agree is unjustifiable violence, that is punished with negative consequences. This doesn't scream evil or immoral to me. Yes, there can be players or even campaigns where all the players are evil, and they go around committing evil acts on purpose. First off, there's usually the understanding that there's going to be negative consequences, either in-game or in some cases in real life, with a problem player being removed from the group. Second, sometimes it's allowed because it's explicitly an evil campaign, but there's still going to be negative consequences that the players have to deal with, and above all, those actions are acknowledged as being evil, and the players have agreed to it. Admittedly, there's some difference in how we view RPGs that comes into play here. I feel like for players that got started in earlier editions, there's still this idea of wanting to be the hero or that combat is a big part of the game. It's not to say that role-playing wasn't an important aspect of the game. just that combat and dungeons were a big part of the game for them. It seems like newer players, specifically those that started in 5e and in the last few years of it in particular, there's more emphasis on the role-playing aspect. That's kind of put both sides at odds with each other, with some people having very strong feelings about things like fantasy prom or working in a coffee shop, and not necessarily in the 3.5 profession is a skill kind of way. There's also this trend of bringing real-world politics into the game, and again, I see this a lot with the newer group of players. I mean, this is the same general group that's trying to argue that orcs are racist, for example. I find this a little odd because a lot of the players that are advocating against violence in game are the same people that have supported violence, specifically political violence, in real life throughout the past 2 years or so. It's weird to think that it's okay to use violence to intimidate, steal, injure, or even murder people in real life, and acts that are not legally justifiable. But somehow it's wrong to use violence to stop those acts, even in a tabletop game. I get that to some extent it's about pushing a broader social narrative that's been put forth by the left and some of our more progressive members of society, that they don't want other people using violence because they want to claim a monopoly on it, and that only they can use it morally. The idea that other people could use violence morally threatens them in a lot of their riots. I mean, just look at how they treated Kyle Rittenhouse, for example. They don't want us even pretending to act like that. Likely out of fear that when someone's life is in danger, that we might actually do the right thing. And that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to leave a like, comment, subscribe, that'd be great. I'd love to hear your opinions on whether violence in RPGs is acceptable. I know this was something of a hot topic a few decades ago as well. If not, that's okay too. I understand. Either way, I hope you have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.